Please make them welcome. And you'll need to move a lot quicker than that.
Thank you very much, Gerry. Can I start? Yep. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Lisa Massey, Project Officer with GeoCatch, in charge of our Bay OK community projects, let's say workshops and seminars. Today, I want to talk about an exciting project in achievement by GeoCatch's Bay OK program that we undertook this year, the Low Nutrient Demonstration Garden at the Busselton Community Youth Centre on Bustle Highway. This project was a partnership between SWIC, City of Busselton, GeoCatch, funded by the state NRM community grants and the Australian Government's Caring for Country program. Long sentence. There's been growing interest in sustainable gardening for the catchment. GeoCatch's focus over recent years has been improving water quality in the geographic catchment, waterways and wetlands. With this in mind, GeoCatch has introduced Bay OK Gardens, our new project targeting urban gardeners, encouraging behavioural change in reducing lawn areas, reducing fertiliser use, reducing water use, and planting appropriate species in their home gardens. We thought we better practice what we preach, so our first effort was to create a nature verge in front of GeoCatch's office, replacing the turf with native species. 18 months on, this garden looks fabulous with its flowering grass trees and shrubs. Now, this is a story of a strategy becoming reality in the form of partnerships, community involvement and on-ground works. It grew from just a workshop and a garden concept to become a resource for the community to experience and learn from. Our low nutrient demonstration garden. GeoCatch wanted to publicise our Bay OK Gardens project, beginning to educate the community in sustainable gardening. So we booked Josh Burns, our gardening celebrity, to come down and deliver a gardening workshop. It was in June this year. At the same time, we were working on a process that could lead to creation of a demonstration garden that would show the community what can be done and provide information as to how to go about creating a low nutrient and sustainable garden. We approached the City of Busselton about finding a highly visible site that would be suitable, and the immediate suggestion was the Busselton Youth Centre, one of their top 5 hated turf maintenance sites. Excellent. The timing was perfect to contract Josh Burns and Associates to develop and design a concept plan for our low nutrient demonstration garden on this site that could be presented and workshopped at the garden workshop that we had already booked Josh Burns for. Now, there's no point in having a garden concept plan unless you're going to do it. We had a site with an enthusiastic owner committed to long-term management, a concept plan that addressed GeoCatch's focus, and as it turned out, a funding avenue to make it all a reality. SWIC were aware of our plans for a demonstration garden and they were keen to be involved in the project. These sustainable gardens, they cost a bit and the proposed site was fairly large. SWIC agreed to fund both the detailed plan and the construction of the demonstration garden. The construction was scheduled July-August this year, immediately after the garden workshop, so the community could follow the story presented to them by Josh Burns by seeing the project being constructed over a week and a half as they passed each day into town. The garden was installed by a landscaping contractor supervised by GeoCatch and staff from the City of Busselton. This project would not have been a success if the success it is, if not for the efforts of the city. After they provided the site, they provided input to the design, made generous in-kind contributions in the form of spraying, mulch, irrigation design and the ongoing maintenance. At the same time, SWIC were producing their planting guide for Geograph Bay, and the concept plan prepared for our demonstration garden was included in this planting guide as an example of a bay-friendly verge garden. As described in the planting guide and the interpretive sign erected in the garden we've created, it showcases some of the low nutrient and water efficient landscape approaches that can be applied in urban gardens. The key principles include using native plants, local native plants that are water efficient and require minimal fertilising, using coarse native mulch and organic soil amendments to maximise moisture retention, and incorporating vegetated swales to capture stormwater, increase recharge and reduce nutrient runoff. Also reducing the area of lawn and replacing it with the local natives. The garden's now establishing rapidly, and I hope will start to thicken up so the design principles behind the garden become more obvious to passers-by. GeoCatch is going to continue rolling out our Bay Okays Gardens project in the coming year, targeting urban garden behaviours. As I said, the project just keeps growing. There is a stage 2 due to commence construction on the back of the site, an urban stormwater retrofitting project that will apply the garden stormwater design principles to the car park at the rear of the site. Thank you very much.
Next. And your time starts.
Does it start with 30 seconds?
Yeah. My name's Ella Maysep. I'm the Landcare Program Manager at Katanning Landcare, and I'm going to take you through some of the stuff we've done for over the last 12 months at Katanning Landcare. Now, the Landcare logo is our caring hands, so I'm going to take you this journey through this perspective of those hands. Firstly, Landcare is about bringing people together. This year we participated in Sustainable House Day, hosting 2 of our Landcare group members to open their eco-homes to over 130 visitors to come through and learn about sustainable living in a home and sustainable construction. We also brought people together in a wildflower photography workshop, did a wildflower walk, and we're also planning our next small landholders workshop. Our hands record a lot of data. This year we did 63 kilometres of riparian vegetation assessments on the Yulia Mardup tributary leading into Lake Yulia Mardup, which led to us writing a catchment vegetation management plan. This was part of our big Caring for Our Country project, which actually worked across 4 catchments, through which 75 kilometres of fencing and 285,000 seedlings were planted with our partner 3 other Landcare groups. Now this is where my timing, oh look at that. Our hands also care for native wildlife. The Shire of Katanning contracted Katanning LCDC to coordinate on a fee-for-service basis, now the source of funding, the relocation of 91 turtles and echidnas and frogs and this beautiful sand monitor out of the way of some heavy construction machinery that was happening with a lake development project in the middle of town. And at our hands, 159 ferals lost their life in one night at our Red Card for Rabbits and Foxes community fox shoot night. Many hands make light work when it comes to our Living Stream project, which was changing a horrible weed-infested, rubbish-filled, steep-wall drain through the middle of town into a naturally sloped, revegetated living stream. We had volunteers come from the TAFE, from community, from Landcare, and the Shire did the lion's work of the earthworks. We also, as usual, spent some time on our hands and knees praying to the funding gods. And of course, we spent some time wanting to strangle someone. Sometimes SWIC, sometimes the government, sometimes our funding bodies or the agencies. This is our beautiful deep-ore wreck here, Carla. We spend that time trying to get that gentle balance between the community's needs and our objectives, but also with the priorities and the regulations of our funders. And we've been playing in that policy space. This year I finished my 2.5-year term with the Australian Landcare Council, and my colleague Jill has finished her time with the National Landcare Network. We also learnt that sometimes though, you've got to paddle your own canoe. We're all going for the same goal, but we're all in each individual Landcare groups and we can choose our own course and our own speed of how we get there. And we've been heavily involved in the creation of a resilient backwood basin in a changing climate concept plan, which shows how all the group in the backwood are working towards the same goal through our unique activities. And more literally, we ran a community kayak tour to show people our beautiful Lake Yulia Mardup that we've been working on for the last 3 years. Hands help us choose and indicate a direction, give us clear signals about which way we want to go. Over last summer, we developed a recreation area plan for Lake Yulia Mardup. This is some of our volunteer guys dealing with the fine details of boat trailer parking. And through some great funding success, we're in the process of implementing a whole lot of facilities there: barbecues, picnic facilities, a new boat ramp, a bird hide, interpretive signage through Lake Juliamata. Hands-on learning is so important to us, and it's also important to be doing things that are tangible, touchable, real. Getting out in the paddock. We've done perennial pastures demonstration trial, we've been involved in a saltbush clones trial, a fertiliser efficiency runoff trial, and we've done more than 25 kilometres of fencing and 68,000 seedlings outside of our major projects. We've also finished the 4th year of a coordinated bridle creeper road spraying program with 4 other shires. Landcare is about handing over our planet in a better condition with good food security to the next generation. We've taken the Year 10 geography students each year on a catchment trip. We've had the school kids out tree planting, and we're in the process of coordinating Kentucky Tour 6, which is our young farmers' 2-day field trip for 18 to 30-ish year olds. And we've been working with some of the Indigenous elders to try and capture some stories about Lake Juliamata to pass on to the next generation and to pass that knowledge down. And Landcare hands are for communicating. We've been at the Woolarama, we've been at the Cattenning Show, on Facebook, Twitter, in the newspaper. We've presented at the Great Southern Science Conference in Albany, the ABARES Conference in Northam. We've hosted visits from politicians, the Australian Landcare Council and the Governor of WA. We do regular email newsletters. And of course, hands are for holding our coffee.
Morning everyone. So today I'm going to take a different approach, and I want to explain to you how, as coming on board as a new person, what it's meant for me. So my name is Veronica Crouch. I've started up at wagin-woodanilling Landcare, and I've been there for all of 4 months, so I'm pretty new. So what I found best about coming on board was joining into a new community. So I've come from not knowing anyone in the wagin or woodanilling zone, and they've welcomed me, made me feel right at home, and it's been excellent. So since I've joined the NRM world, the best thing was having so many supporting other bodies around me. So I've had BBG, I've had SWIC, Cattenning, Dumble Young, you name it. So all the surrounding bodies around me have brought me right on board. They've supported me, helped me along the way, which has made me feel like I can achieve what I want to by coming on as a new person. So, at wagin-woodanilling Landcare, our main objectives are sustainable agriculture, sustainable environment. And so there's a huge focus within our zone, and the local community is right behind us trying to achieve those goals. So some of the things that we're trying to achieve, as main one being salinity. It's huge in our area, especially with those wagin lake systems that we've got running through. And so what we're trying to look at is reclaiming those salt lands and improving the agricultural land around those salt lakes. There's a lot of cultural history around those salt lakes as well. You've got your Carrolup, which is your Marybank native settlement. So there's a lot of cultural history there that we want to also stand behind and be involved in. And as coming on as a new person, it's been fantastic to learn all of those sort of heritage behind the area that I've moved to. So also with keeping the heritage in mind, we want to improve those lake systems and agricultural systems. And it's been something great about those is the red-tailed phascal. It's an endangered species. It's very iconic to Wagin zone. And that's been the sort of highlight, I suppose, for me coming on board at wagin-woodanilling Landcare. As I knew nothing about the phascal when I moved down there. Now, full bottle, I can tell you a lot about it. But coming on board, I had no projects to start on my own. So to come on board and join in on those projects when I started, to learn about, the breeding patterns and the habitat. It's all she-oak country down there. And to be involved with the finalisation of the nest boxes and the data collection, collaborating it all together so we can hopefully get some data together, do a study and say, look, we can now determine that there's X amount of phascogale there, where are they migrating to, what's the climate change, how is it affecting them, and that's been one of the highlights for me coming on board. I've gone a little bit fast, that's okay. I'll talk about the pictures now. So, tackling town site salinity in Wagin, they've got a lot of underground water that gets pumped out from underneath the town, and that goes straight out into the salt lakes. So I'm working with the Shire CEO, and we're trying to develop a project. How can we use all this water that's just getting pumped? So much water is getting pumped from underneath the town site. And we, like, all right, think outside the box. What can we do? And that's what's been so fantastic about attending this weekend, I found, is how can we approach different funding bodies, maybe get some sponsorship. Where can we go from here to try and go, all right, maybe we could use the wastewater for, you know, fish farming or something like that. This is a local farmer's property. It's got salinity, it's got wind erosion, you know, how can we improve the soil health? You know, so there's some things that locals have been working on within our zone. They've been doing perennial pasture trials to try and improve the microbial activity in the soil. At the moment, we're trying to develop a trial, so how could we use different mulching techniques? This is something that we are really interested in. So if we say put some straw out or we put some wood chips out, how's that going to, if it's cultivated into the soil, how's that going to improve the microbial activity? We want to know this stuff, and so do the locals in our area. And to end on a note, this is our phascogale, and this is what I've been so excited about.
All right, sorry. Hi everybody, my name's Michelle Gooding and
I'm Janelle Smith.
We work for the Shire of West Arthur in the West Arthur Landcare group. So here we have a photo of our crew at our annual fox shoot. This has proved to be very successful in our shire, and every year we have a huge number of people coming along and eradicating various ferals, and the guys are not very feral, so it's great. So some of the other traditional things that we do other than invasive species control, like for weeds and everything, and working with local shires, we formed a West Arthur declared species group. We're involved in biodiversity protection. We have a Friends of Nandrit group, and we're also heavily into saltland reclamation and prevention. So when funding changed, we had to change. Our Landcare group lost impetus because they lost their full-time person. They didn't have anybody that they can channel their ideas through anymore. So our shire went into sort of a holding pattern, and that was where my job was created. We didn't have any new members for the committee because it looked like it was not going anywhere. So can we just flick back to that? Yeah. Now I just wanted to point out one of our really great guys. So the fellow right on the left of that screen is Ray Harrington, and he's a fantastic innovator. So 30 years ago he started on minimum till, and then it took another 15 years and everybody else started to come on board. He's really heavily into water conservation and soil conservation, and he's on our local shire. He became my committee chair, and then he said, look, why don't we go forward with sustainable agriculture as a part of Landcare? We've got all these young guys coming in now. That's his nephew in the middle who farms with him. You know, let's go where the young guys want to go with this. So we're looking more towards soil conservation now. So we formed the West Arthur Trials Group. That was the meeting of our first trial, and we had GRDC funding, SWIC funding, DAFWA involvement, CSBP corporate sponsorship, and the Shire West Arthur, of course. From that, this is one of our first field days, and you see how many people turned up, so it's really popular. This is a Grain and Graze 2 demonstration site, so we didn't have to do this, we just gave them a farm and a local farmer who was interested in hosting it. And because of that, we were able to attract other trials, and this is where Janelle comes in.
So I've come on board at the start of this year doing this DAFWA and CSIRO funded project looking at grazing crops. So what we've mimicked sheep grazing and cut the crop down at different times of the year. And we're just trying to show that you can get some feed value off your crops earlier in the year. And as you can see in the bottom photo that was taken last week, most of those cuts have recovered quite well. And that's allowing us to get some of the guys to start working on pasture regeneration and things like that because they're so hesitant to spray out anything early and they don't want to lose their early feed, so we can defer that to the crops. We're getting some pasture work. And from that, we got invited to participate in the Making More from Sheep project, which is also through DAFWA. So we've had a few projects there. We've had this one, which was upskilling farmers to try and identify why they're losing stock. And the next one that followed on from that was looking at pasture feed base. And so we went around and identified some of the poor performing pastures in the area. And had a look at what the options could be, what farmers could do in those areas to improve them, and then also went to some areas where farmers had done something about their pastures and showing guys that in some cases it wasn't all that expensive and it wasn't all that hard to get some better production off some poorer performing areas.
So we've also had a really long-running relationship with the Future Farm CRC. We hosted the first proof site. Hello, yep. We hosted the first proof site for Messina in the state, and that was established in 2006. That's the one to the left. I don't know what's going on with this. And that plot is still going, the one that worked. So that was one of the original species, or forms of that species that worked really well in those conditions. And it obviously had the right rhizobia. The one that was on the bottom screen is the brand new one, so that's our current demonstration site. And you can see how poor that country is. So they chose a site that went from okay right through to disgusting. And Messina is the only bright green strip that survived all the way through that. We're going to keep an eye on that. It's right on our highway, so it's really easy to see and look over that little drain. That's a massive drain, actually. And we also are involved in a saltbush palatability trial. So combining the two together, I think we're going to end up with a really good sustainable agriculture that's going to lower the water table and look after the soil of the paddocks that surround it.
So this was at our field day this year as well. We had such a thick crop, we ended up having to drive the truck in there because we weren't able to walk. And it was on a non-wetting trial site, and they've tried moldboard ploughing here as well as some of the lures pre and post seeding, wetting agent. And we've had that going for a couple of years, or a bigger trial last year, and they've taken some of the better performing replicates and put them in a new trial this year, which was what we were having a look at.
And this is where it all started. So Bruce Taylor, I went out and took a photo of him the other day, and it hopefully will form part of a press release. This paddock here, where he's standing, was a deep disc offset plough only. To his left was 2 by wetting agents, and you can see there's actually crop there, whereas where he's standing it's just ryegrass or bare ground. And to his right, if I got it right, was moldboard plough incorporating lime. No, I'm sorry, offset discs incorporating lime. This is 4 years after the trial, and it's still having a fantastic effect. They think it was really obvious this year because we had that dry June, July, so disease set into the section that wasn't as healthy. So this is, so Bruce said to me, look, I used to just be one of the group. I used to stand back there and come to field days and not make a change to my to what I did on the farm. He was saying to me, just take your time, don't worry, you're not going to turn everybody in all at once. But without guys like Bruce, we can't demonstrate how effective these processes are. You know, he's taken the bull by the horns and had a go, And now the paddock right behind him is his new interpretation of doing the incorporation of lime. Rather than using the offset discs, he found they were too deep, and he was concerned about the erosion effect. He also was pulling up lots of roots and rocks, and he said it was like breaking in new country for all the guys that know what it's like to break in new country. And so he's put it in with scarifier points now, and as you can see, that's a marvellous crop at the back. Thank you, that's it.
Hi all, my name's Sarah Harden, I'm from the FACEY group. So I guess the West Arthur Trials group is a good lead-in to our group. We're a grower group and we probably go a little bit further than just on-ground trials. So I'm just going to give you an overview of what the group does, and I'm sure there'll be lots of questions asked, so come and see me later. The FACEY group was formed in January 2001 with the aim of bringing the community together to work towards achieving economic, social and environmental stability for the region. It's a forum for people in the district to discuss and question current farming systems and how we can improve them, and to explore and trial new systems and methods. The group was formed out of an existing Landcare group, and while the environmental stability is a goal, the group recognises that practices have to be profitable for farmers to adopt them. Farmers saw an important need to conduct trials and demonstrations in the local region, and the key was to access information that was local, current and relevant on topics such as time of sowing, varieties, soil health, rotations, fertiliser rates and types, as well as much more. Access to this information would enable farmers to adopt practices which they saw as beneficial and would increase their production, resulting in increased profits. Without profitable local farmers, where would our local communities be? Thus, the establishment and growth of the FACEY group plays an important role in the future, not only of our farmers, but the survival of our communities. The FACEY group is managed by a committee of local farmers and industry who meet regularly with the staff, currently 3, including the EO, myself, the Sustainable Ag Coordinator and Administration Manager. While the staff ensure that the day-to-day running of the group is carried out accordingly, the committee has final decisions on the management of the group's activities. In addition to the committee, the group is divided up into smaller groups and committees for the areas of key focus being cropping and NRM, sheep and pastures and women in agriculture. Each of the subgroups are responsible for making decisions on the direction of where the local farmers want to be. Where the local farmers want to be and what they want to know, from research and required local training and workshops. I specifically coordinate the cropping and NRM group and manage the projects and technical works associated with this group. The group hosts 2 big events annually, with the Trials Night in March, which some of you might know as the Regional Crop Updates, and the Spring Field Day in September. Both avenues for showcasing the projects we're involved with and to extend results to the group's members and to the local community. Currently, the cropping and NRM group has 8 defined projects on ground, including grazing crops, twin and summer sowing, livestock grazing and no-till interaction, water repellents, yield profit, crop sequencing, stubble retention on canopy temperature and frost and length, and the economies of managing soil organic carbon, and the interaction of potassium in wheat on frost and drought, plus a few smaller projects that are completed with local farmers and other industry personnel on specific products and processes. The groups previously had projects with NRM groups, which are currently wrapped up, looking at compost in the farming system, biochar, lime applications and different seeding strategies, and frost interaction, saltbush and taxostatic plantings, water monitoring and many more. Due to our location, we are located almost smack bang in the middle of 2 of the NRM bodies, with Wickman Continental Road, which is our main street, being engaged on the border of the regions. Anyone north fitting into the wet belt NRM area, and anyone south within the South West Catchments Council. We also rely heavily on collaboration with other groups and researchers to ensure that we can achieve more significant results to be extended to the networks. We work closely with GRDC, the Grower Group Alliance and other grower groups, UWA, Murdoch, DAFA, chemical, fertiliser and seed companies, grain marketing companies and local banking organisations. Along with collaboration with organisations, the group is very well supported by its major sponsors, Rabobank, Syngenta and Summit Fertilisers, and a large array of other sponsors from within the agriculture industry. Members of the group also aid in ensuring the continuation of the group and are essential for its support. Other events that have been held over the past few years and are planned for the future is the annual Women in Agriculture Day, which always gains a lot of interest with inspirational speakers and wine with lunch. It's always a day enjoyed by all. There are various field walks throughout the season and co-hosted workshops with collaborative partners based on soil health, grain marketing, ladies fighting the flames workshops, plus many more. And we quite regularly host other grower groups, both from within WA and interstate. Over the past 3 years, the Basic Group has also been the administration manager for the National Grain Graze 2 project, a great feat in itself. Essentially, the Basic Group are a key link between research and farmers and ensuring that what is delivered is relevant. Extension and local relevance is a key objective for the Basic Group and the coordination of this to the community. One of the most important factors is extension, ensuring that farmers are learning from farmers and that they walk away from any activity with something that they can utilise now and into the future within their farming system to ensure profitability and long-term sustainability.
Hello. She broke it, I fixed it.
Morning everyone. My name's Felicity Willett. I'm the Program Coordinator at the Blackwood Basin Group. So today I'll be talking about our current project, how it developed and why it's so important to conserve our wetland ecosystems and the biodiversity that relies upon these systems. With funding from the Australian Government's Biodiversity Fund program, our Priority Bidden and Waterbird Biodiversity Enhancement project developed from a vision to create a wetland haven for waterbirds and fauna alike across a large disturbed past mining area that has given rise to a number of freshwater dams. This unique opportunity will forge new ground in wetland design and creation. So why are wetlands so important? Wetlands serve a variety of important ecological, social and economic functions across the world, including nesting, feeding and breeding grounds for a variety of fauna, flood mitigation and filtering pollution, as well as their importance to agriculture, recreation and fishing. However, many are under increasing threat from climate change, urban sprawl and contamination from adjacent land uses. In WA, there are a few remaining wetlands and many of these are salty and semi-permanent in nature. Very few are fresh. With this project, we have a unique opportunity to create an interconnected group of freshwater wetlands in a part of the South West that has reliable rainfall and abundant biodiversity inherent in the surrounding southern Jarrah forests. So these are our focus species. The Australasian bittern, the black bittern and the little bittern. These little guys are more often heard than seen, with a call during mating season that has been related to that which a bunyip might make. These birds are quite shy and have very specific habitat requirements. We'll also be focusing on migratory species that rely on freshwater sources during their annual roots, and wetlands often provide a refilling stock for many of these species. Australia has played an important role in international efforts to conserve migratory birds of the East Asian Australasian flyway, beginning with bilateral migratory bird agreements, which provide a formal framework for cooperation between two countries on issues of mutual interest. This has led to migratory bird species being protected in Australia as matters of national environmental significance. And lastly, our iconic 3 forest black cockatoo species will be targeted through on-ground and community work within the project. The Carnabies, the Bordens and the red-tailed cockatoos face increasing threat from habitat destruction and nest hollow shortage and competition. Climate change is an additional threat that is likely to exacerbate the threatening processes as a result of changes to biodiversity and ecosystem function. Our project site is situated in the southern Jarrah Forest and is a known location for breeding and roosting of at least 2 of these species. Through project activities, we will provide additional nest hollows, future habitat, and monitoring data to feed into established conservation programs. So, our project activities, they will be coordinated in partnership with Deepore, Talison Lithium mining operations, and the Bridgetown Greenbushes community. We'll undertake a rigorous design process to develop a functional wetland system at the currently steep-sided deep water body. We'll be creating islands, shallow beaches and mud flats, and we've had got a new exciting prospect of a floating island, which will add additional habitat to the area. We'll be undertaking intensive revegetation across this area, as well as widespread weed and pest control, which will be critical to the success of attracting and retaining populations of target species, as well as the revegetation efforts and its success. Collaborative action will target rabbits, foxes, pigs and cats, as well as bridal creeper, Watsonia, pines and other weed species. Ecological surveying will be a key to ensuring good ecosystem health and monitoring the success of actions. We'll be undertaking a large-scale surveying program looking at a range of aquatic and terrestrial parameters and involving a number of expert and community groups. Community is the key to this project. We'll be putting a large emphasis on local community engagement in the form of engagement, education, interaction and involvement in a number of the project activities. The program aims to meet the needs of the community while building capacity across the generations to foster a sense of ownership and care for their natural assets into the future. And finally, this project will be laying the foundations for future projects to safeguard our unique biodiversity assets. As birds start to inhabit the area, plans for walkways and bird watching facilities will be developed. At later stages, some of the deeper water bodies may be adapted to allow for more passive recreational pursuits. In the not too distant future, we envisage we'll have a nationally important bird and wildlife conservation area, as well as a unique visitor attraction to the region.
Okay. Oops.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Caroline Hughes. I'm the coordinator at the Cape to Cape Catchments Group. And today I'd like to talk to you about, or give you an overview of the work that the Cape to Cape Catchments Group is doing in regard to protecting biodiversity in the Capes region. My slides are just a selection of biodiversity shots which should give you an idea of the special values we're trying to protect in the Capes region. So as most of you are probably aware, we really do live and work in a special place. The South West is is recognised as an internationally recognised biodiversity hotspot, and the area between Busselton and Augusta, which includes the Capes region, is also one of 15 nationally recognised biodiversity hotspots. So it really is a special part of the world, and CCG, I think, has embraced the need to protect those important values and has made biodiversity protection one of their key management programs. So alongside maintaining waterway health and raising community awareness and engagement, the group is really passionate about identifying the values and the threats to biodiversity in the area. Strategically, we're focusing on, or have focused on, the development of Conservation Action Plan, and the CAP, as it's known, is really based on Shire boundaries. So it covers the southern portion of the CCG management area, and it also straddles quite a large area of land managed by the Lower Blackwood LCDC. So the CAP has been developed in collaboration with Keith Bradbury and his wonderful team down at wagin-woodanilling, and it essentially
identifies the values, targets and the management actions needed to protect the biodiversity values in the Shire, within the Shire boundaries. It was developed using an internationally recognised process developed by the Nature Conservancy, and although I wasn't personally involved in the development of the CAP because I wasn't with CCG at the time, it brought together a wide range of stakeholders, including local government, state government, community reps and academics, to come up with a consensus on how we were going to manage biodiversity in that area. Within the plan, there's an identified suite of species, communities and ecological systems, and they've been chosen as targets, and these represent and encompass the full array of biodiversity in the area. Actions were then developed to address the threats to these chosen targets, and in theory, if we conserve those targets, we ensure conservation of the full suite of native biodiversity in the landscape. The CAP process is intended to be dynamic, so the plan will continually be reviewed and updated. And we do have a summary document, which is a snapshot in time of the CAP. We have limited hard copies left, but if anybody's interested, it is on our website. So Cape to Cape Catchments Group's now taken a lead in an established implementation steering group, and that group represents all the stakeholders that were involved in the development process, and they're going to oversee implementation of the actions in the plan. We have applied to Lotteries West for some funding to implement some of the priority actions, and they are fire and biodiversity planning, regional weed planning, and some dieback education and training. So essentially the group is currently focusing on identifying their priorities, grouping actions from the plan and coming up with coherent projects which we can then go to funding bodies for. The other key thing they're really interested in is bringing together some spatial information that we can make future management decisions on, and particularly to incorporate consideration of climate change into that process. So we're very keen to see the outcomes of the SWIC climate change planning project and the spatial platform that's planned to be developed within that project. In parallel to the CAP development, we're also working with local landowners with their biodiversity. We've been fortunate over the last 2 years to have funding from the federal government and some through SWIC to work within the Margaret River Agricultural Zone and on strategically chosen properties along the Leeuwin Naturalist Ridge and adjacent to the Leeuwin Naturalist National Park. And this work's involved the development of biodiversity action plans for specific properties. So project officers have been out, worked with the landowner to identify the important parts of their property. And the main aim has been in developing ecological linkages within the landscape. We've developed over 80 of these biodiversity plans, and we do feel that this is a way forward, that we will continue to do these sorts of plans with landowners. And we've also started implementing some of the on-ground work that was recommended in those plans. We were hoping to continue that work through a biodiversity fund application. Unfortunately, that was unsuccessful. So we're fortunate now to have some support from SWIC to do some on-ground work within the Margaret River catchment, and that's linked with the protection of the critically endangered hairy marron. So I suppose in closing, I'd just like to say that CCG is committed to protecting the really special biodiversity down our way, as within the whole of the South West. We do consider it's a special place and worthy of special protection. So thank you.
Good morning, I'm Mark Sewell from the Warren Catchments Council. PechaKucha, I thought I was told I had to talk about Machu Picchu, the ruined city in Peru, and so in fact my first slide you'll see takes you straight there. So thanks very much Wendy Wilkin for helping me out with this presentation. No, I did find out later on it's about light conversation and chit-chat, apparently, in Japanese, PechaKucha. So I thought what I would do is I would engage you, if I could, in some light conversation and meander across the Warren Catchments Council during the last 12 months or so. But before that, I'd like to take you to another place entirely. I've been to this place. It's a painting called Jilwa up in the Kimberley region, and down in the bottom right-hand corner there are two green circles, which are two trees, and I've actually sat in the shade of those two trees with the painter whose name was Fatima Lulu. And it strikes me that what she's adopting is a fantastically ancient style of GIS mapping. She's engaged all the knowledge that she can muster from 45,000 years of her family living there to develop layers and layers of information about that land and what's happened there in the past and what will happen there in the future. We're trying to do the same thing at Warren Catchments Council with GIS mapping using different tools. And one of our projects is to look at how we can restore riparian vegetation to the Warren and Donnelly rivers after blackberry infestations have died away either through control or through natural causes. And it's a really great project. It's a biodiversity fund project that's going for 6 years. We're working with CSIRO and DEC or DPOR now on that, and it takes into account climate change. At Broke Inlet, which is a nearly landlocked estuary of the Shannon and Broke rivers, the water level rises and falls every year, but it depends upon the flooding of the rivers. And in the future, it will also depend upon rising sea levels. And unfortunately, we're having reduced river flows every year as well. So it's a very fragile environment, and its future is uncertain. We've just concluded through our great colleague Kathy Dawson over here, a great project on woylie conservation, working with DEC, now DPOR, funded by CFOC. That little woylie was ejected from the pouch in a monitoring exercise, but I understand was safely returned later on, which is good because the whole project's about saving woylies from extinction. So I guess that one symbolises that. Our Ribbons of Blue program can be very hard work, but not on this day. The Ribbons of Blue program looks at water quality along different rivers in the Warren Catchments Council area. This is actually at the mouth of the Broke Inlet, that sandbank in the background is now all washed away and the water's flowing out to sea at a very rapid rate, but we wonder how that will change over time with a changing climate. I'll just let you look at that one for a second. We're also doing some work at Windy Harbour, which is a bit further to the west along our coast, working with the Shire of Manjimup on a Department of Transport funded project to do photo monitoring along the coast, looking at the natural processes which affect the coast so that we can better adapt our infrastructure there to coping with natural processes. At Windy Harbour, the sea level has been measured to be rising at about 5.5 millimetres a year since the 90s. So what's been once in a century flooding will become maybe 10 times a year flood events in the next 70 years. We're also working with the Shire on a restoration project in a bushland reserve in the middle of town. This fire is a controlled burn, not a wildfire, before we undertook weed control in the area. And the local residents really want to have a return of biodiversity to their doorsteps, but you have to juggle that with the need to have fire hazard reduction as well. So, great projects can also have fairly concerning side effects sometimes. One of our mainstays at Warren Catchments Council has been working with feral pig control. We've had a few different projects. We've been very fortunate. And now we've embarked on a couple of years working with SWIC in the state NRM funded South West Feral Pig Control project. And that's a very exciting chance to expand what we do across the lower southwest, working with a few different feral pig control groups. But I don't know if we're making any headway or not with feral pigs yet, and we've been doing it for quite a while, and so it is worrying when you think about all the things we're doing, what ground are we actually making? And so it brings me back to the first slide. Maybe we've actually already created our own ruined city of Machu Picchu, and what we leave behind for the next generation, we don't know. So, thanks very much.
Hi, good morning everyone. Good morning everyone. My name's Dale Miles. I'm the South West Program Manager for Greening Australia. Most of you would be familiar with us. We're the nation's largest and oldest not-for-profit environmental organisation, and we've been around for over 30 years. We have a presence in every state and capital territory in Australia, and in the southwest, our operational headquarters is in the Peel, where I have a very trusty team of Michelle Malaki and Baden Smith. The 4 pillars of success around much of what we achieve is based around the foundations of environmental leadership, community land care, environmental education, and research and development. And I think to a large degree, these 4 pillars of success have been the reason for our success is in conjunction with all our stakeholders, partners, sponsors, and NRM groups who we work with. The successes have been founded upon some large-scale landscape corridor projects, some of which you'd be familiar with, the Gondwana link, which Greening Australia has been working with various stakeholders. Also the Peel Biolinks, which is a corridor linkage project which seeks to reconnect the Darling Scarp with the Peel estuary, and we work closely with local NRM groups and the peel-harvey Catchments Council to restore that connectivity in a fragmented landscape. As a not-for-profit organisation, community land care is vital to our successes and is very important to us delivering these landscape scale projects. In the Peel catchment alone, over the past 6 years, we've revegetated approximately 550 hectares and planted over 600,000 trees, and we would not have been able to achieve that without the help of partners and volunteers. We believe that environmental education at a grassroots level is vital to actually get people understanding about some of the problems and issues that we all are dealing with. We have a number of interactive and pragmatic tools that get implemented across some of our student programs and youth engagement programs like Grow Us a Home, Rivers of WA, the Make an Impact program, and we also have a very successful Aboriginal Land Care Education program, or ALEP program, which brings Aboriginal students up to certificate level in land care and education. The Make an Impact program, run in partnership with Alcoa of Australia, is a carbon and emissions reduction awareness program, and that through that program we've been able to implement a number of projects in the Peel, the Pinjarra Community Garden, the Murray District's Aboriginal Association. We've implemented sustainable vegetable gardens with them. At the Fairbridge Village, we ran a sustainability program there to raise awareness around carbon footprinting and emissions reductions. This is the front page of one of our interactive website tools that gets rolled across some of our student and youth programs. Schools are applying this within their curriculum to actually connect with youngsters and kids and bring about awareness of what's happening in their own backyard in the Peel region. And it's a pretty useful and interactive tool, and we find we get a lot of engagement from students using that interactive website. We constantly seek to refine and improve our best practice technologies, and we engage closely with tertiary institutions such as UWA and work closely with them on a research project, Farming in a Biodiversity Hotspot, which really looks at harnessing native plants which reduce or mitigate the flows of phosphorus through the catchment and discharge into the watercourses, which ultimately have an effect on eutrophication in the Peel estuary. We work closely with industry partners, say for instance Dr. Jeff Woodall, to improve and develop cost-effective economies of scale for direct seeding. This is an integrated native fodder system where we're looking at paddock-scale revegetation to implement native fodder species for sheep and cattle-based production systems that would provide a cost-effective tool for producers to better equip themselves to access alternative fodder during the summer months. And in closing, I just want to thank everyone here who's worked with us We look forward to continued relationships, and I look forward to working with you all in the near future. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joan O'Malley from the Peel-Harvey Catchment Council. We're going to do a little bit different. We've stepped out of line again. I'm just going to introduce you to one of our monitoring community engagement projects that's been very successful. This is a concept that one of our team members picked up while she was on holiday in the Ocean Road in Victoria. She saw the photo monitoring points, thought they were a great idea, brought the concept back, and then Christine Keimer was able to introduce 6 of these photo monitoring points through our Caring for Our Country Lake Clifton Threatened Species project. It's a YouTube video, and we'll just play it. It takes you through the seasons, shows you how when visitors come, they just put their camera on the photo monitoring post, take a picture, hold their smartphone over the code, sends it through to us. We then upload it, put it on our photo gallery. They can have a look. We've put 6 in. 2 have been very successful. 4 people don't walk as far as we thought they might. So the 2 on the boardwalk at Lake Clifton, we've had over 200 photos. Most of those are international visitors, and we're finding that out because we thought they'd just send their photo, but they're also sending in really lovely little testimonials and blurbs and stuff, so we're able to see where they're from all around the world. So please enjoy our YouTube video, and it's narrated by the lovely Anna Maria World, an award-winning poet. Thank you.
In the beginning, her eggs, a clutch of living stones, earth's immersed lungs, windows of a dream open. If they spoke just once, we would hear the first breath, before we became everything, before it became Yagarap. The lake's apprentice. Midwinter, my lake is clouds adrift on a glossed photograph. Archipelagos of sacred stones drowned in archival sky. Ripples shaping fossil mounds to ruin bones. By midsummer, my lake is a sculpture park, lapped by sun, receding water, bleached shores of thirsting microbes that survive by sipping ground seeps. And I breathe in, we are breathing oxygen they release. Millennia ago, these strombolites, the woggle's eggs, painted ozone blue sky from knotworked stone. Now they are turning me into the lake's apprentice. Their practice of creation takes elements and memory, then grows but never leaves this landscape, slowed to a benthic pace. Time is not life's enemy, but its keepsake, patiently changing forms, winged, scaled, plotted. Adaptation is our nature. Waking up at Lake Clifton, notice the way lake's surface moves, wind-blown, to where slight waves glint, tiny crests breaking on offshore thrombolites, blink, blink, like silver lids, as ripples open the wide eye of each rock pool and wink on every stone. Bush Journal entry 113. At the wetlands, poems grow from what cannot be collected. Salt lake residue on skin, ancestral memories, heron's lunge or eagle swoop, that sudden blue of scattering fairy wrens, wind's insomnia, its midday quiet, scents of a samphire marsh at sundown, the full moon under clustering thrombolites, how they build, adapt, sculpt still life in aragonite.
Monty Python, and now for something completely different. Please welcome Pops and Uncle Molly.
You probably wonder why the nicknames. I'll explain in a moment. The newly formed Leshnot Catchment Council decided that we would have to go public and make ourselves known and spread the message. So we decided on using three formats. One was the schools, one was the local EC university, and the other was ABC TV and radio. So we went out into the schools, and of course the age difference here between an 8-year-old and ourselves is massive. We're prehistoric to an 8-year-old, so we use the nicknames rather than our proper names. We're going to show two very short movies. They're happy, sad movies. They're all about sustainability. The questions we put to the students are very simple. We say to them, what do you use the estuary for? What do you do down there? And the second question is, how are you going to maintain that estuary in its present form? Now, these two movies were made about 3 weeks apart. You'll see a massive change in the estuary over those 3 weeks. Okay.
Friends are Steve and Rob. Join us in a trip along the shoreline of Austrian. Look at this right now. Austrian town plan, 1836. It has great significance in the state's early history. This is the Austrian settlers in Royal.
A women's college, a port, travel by train or a port. Sounds like fun. Where to?
Not a port. Let's go. Keep a lookout for Resident Evil. It's not dangerous.
There he is, tearing a fisher pie.
Yeah, breakfast. The Evac people used this camping place. John Boyle O'Reilly, the escaped prisoner, camped across the estuary. He later became an American researcher. Behind us, the shoreline is much the same as it was then, and we try to preserve it. 170 years ago, Kenneth Bunbury camped here. He noted in his journals the Aboriginal campfires along the shoreline at night and the prolific bird life. I can feel coffee coming on. Blast to the coffee band boys.
Is that working? Yeah. That focuses on the Leschenault Estuary, which is the jewel in the crown of our catchment. What we've got to remember is that the whole catchment feeds into that estuary, and we've got to deal with sustainable land uses and sustainable activity over that whole area. Now, going back onto oral history that we've picked up on that area, people talk about pure waters, the beautiful wildlife that was in the estuary, and it was really marvellous. It's now not in that same condition, and the next film will show that.
Okay, 3 weeks after I did that first film, here's the second film, and this is about a happy, sad story, and we use this with the school kids to talk about things that can go wrong in a catchment. And over there you see a dolphin that had stranded itself. It came in at high tide to feed along the rushes that you see along the edge there, and the tide went out, and normally the dolphins go out straight out to sea as the tide drops. You can see in the background there a massive algal bloom. That's 5 kilometres long and half a kilometre wide, and it's still there. It's a real blot on the landscape at Australind.
Been suffered from a massive algal bloom the last few weeks. This dolphin had come in feeding last night in the shallow water along the shoreline. As the tide dropped, the dolphin was stranded. The animal became very distressed. The rangers told the people to back and leave the dolphin alone. Fortunately, there was one knowledgeable person that knew the dolphin.
One of the problems with the dolphin is that when they strand, they're subject to sunburn, and that little dolphin was there for 3 hours. It was stranded in about 180, 200 millimetres of water, and it had dug a hole with one of its flippers and rolled over on its side, and of course its air breathing hole on its back was going underwater, and it couldn't breathe properly, and the ranger was preventing anybody going near it. And this gentleman here must have known a bit about dolphins, and he went out with some rags to cover it, and he stood it up so it could breathe properly, and he had buckets of water there to keep it wet.
So in spite of the rangers, he had some rags and a bucket and started to get the dolphin. People from the dolphin centre arrived soon after with a stretcher and rolled the dolphin onto this stretcher, then carried it out through the algae to the open water and released it. I didn't see the animal swim away, but I guess it was okay, but I would say that it was very distressed. My name is George Marden. I'm from the Leschenault Catchment Council, and I also live in Australia.
Well, that shows what happens, what condition that the estuary is in at the moment. We owe it to our next generation to be able to hand it over in a better condition than that. One thing that we can't do as an organisation, we can't achieve that by ourselves. The only way we can achieve that is by engaging with the community, inspiring them to take it on, and for everybody to have that attitude of looking after the estuary and foregoing some of the other things that we enjoy at the moment that cause the damage that's there. So what we've got to look at is do we hand over an estuary to the next generation that is in that beautiful pristine condition that it was previously, or do we hand over a cesspool? So that's the challenge that we face.
We've got tremendous problems in the estuaries around, and somebody else, one of the former speakers, alluded to this. We've got the nutrient problem, we've got rising sea levels, and we've got rising intensity of the storms. And the Leschnold estuary is really suffering from this. The mouth of the estuary that's protected with breakwaters had one of the breakwaters washed into the cut, and there's a multi-million-dollar job to fix that. Unfortunately, with the demise of the Swan River Trust, PEMA, Peel Inlet Management Authority, LEMA, Leschnold Inlet Management Authority, Hardy Inlet Management Authority, the government has decided to get rid of these, and now they've decided to amalgamate the Department of Water. This begs the question, who will become the custodians of the catchments and the waterways leading into our estuaries?
Thank you very much. So there we have, ladies and gentlemen, 12 examples of some really good work being done around the region. We have a couple of minutes to chat about these. If you've got any questions about any of these projects, now's a good time to start talking about them, or to talk further about something that you're working on that we may not have discovered yet, because this is a celebration. The idea is that we celebrate those good things that are happening around the region. Start talking to me, people. Yes, Mike.
What is it that we're doing wrong? When you said that there was activities.
What is it that we're doing wrong? Just, okay.
The activities that man is doing wrong, the nutrients coming down the rivers are causing massive problems in the estuaries. And the
Bless you.
estuary was designed to flush. Unfortunately, the government hasn't fixed up the cut, which worked well for 42 years. It's now partially blocked, and the currents aren't swirling around the estuary and clearing the nutrients.
So does the cut need to be re-dredged? Does the cut need to be dredged again?
The cut at present is about two-thirds blocked and getting worse. The government has had a look at it, but they've done nothing. We as a council, we've written letters, we've done all sorts of things, and we're getting nowhere at present. So that's one of the main problems in the estuary present. Rising sea levels are a problem. We're doing reforestation around the foreshores, but with the rising sea levels, we have to change the species. We can't go on planting the ones that were there. We've got to plant salt-resistant species. The storms coming in are washing away our pathways, roads, bridges, and all sorts of things around the estuary.
Can you measure how much the sea has risen?
Yes, I've got I live right on the estuary, and I've got a tide marker outside my house. And over the last 2 years, the estuary levels have been running about 300 to 400 millimetres above what's published as in the tide tables. And the very intense storms cause surges which raise the level even further, and it's washing away the foreshore roadways and pathways along the estuary at Australind.
So the seas, it's not that the land is sinking, is it?
I don't think so.
Because I had this put to me once by an engineer. He said, it's not that the sea is rising, it's the land that's sinking. I said, I think the effect is pretty much the same. Whatever way you look at it, am I right, George?
Well, Venice is sinking, and the Venetians have a real problem. But of course, they've suddenly woken up, the sea level's rising as well. So if you go to Marco Square these days, you're likely to be wearing gumboots and walking around on trestles as high as these tables. But I think it's a worldwide problem.
Good. All right, that's good. Thank you for that question. Anybody else? Yep.
I just had a comment, actually. At the moment, there's a lot of emphasis, I don't know what's going on, I'm just researcher. There's been a lot of comment in the media about food security.
Yep.
And the connotation of that is really, can we feed the world? But I think from our area, what we need to focus on, food security, is farmer security. How does it impact on farmers' ability to actually continue producing the food? So I think that's something that we, in sustainable agriculture, need to focus on.
Okay, so farmer security. Are we talking about competing land use with, say, mining? You better hope your farm doesn't sit on a big mob of coal. All right, keep talking to me. Thank you for that statement, comment. Any further observations about some of the projects we've seen?
Yes. Could we hear a little bit more about those? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go on, Chris. Yeah.
Web-based tools that you were saying you use, and who you're aiming that tool for, and a little bit more about.
Yeah, thanks. The web-based tools are really information portals that we roll out in conjunction with the schools who we participate with. Greening Australia in the Peel catchment probably engage with any year over a dozen schools directly. And some of these web-based tools like Grow Us a Home and Rivers of Western Australia have been implemented into the curriculums to, I suppose, use as a tool both at school and at home to raise awareness with youth and students and provide them with, I suppose, information that they can access both at school during student hours and at home to be able to inform them about what's happening in their backyard. And we've received fantastic feedback from both parents and teachers on how these tools are being sort of implemented into projects and homework procedures or projects by the students. I think there's, in the fast-paced society that we live in, and with growing urban populations, I think there's a disconnection with country and land care, and I think that is an area that we all should be targeting, is getting back to the basics with youth engagement. And I think that's where you have your highest impact, is teaching youth about land care and NRM and environment. And it is happening. Most schools have a significant environmental curriculum or awareness program. And I think, with the society and cultural demographics, cross-cultural demographics, we should be really looking to push that youth awareness in land care and environmentalism.
Excuse me, sorry. To develop those tools?
Those tools, are they expensive?
No, they're not. I don't have the exact figures, but to develop those websites would be less than $10,000 a website. And maintaining them, once the platform is stable, and to maintain those websites is not a significant cost. I don't think. And I think there's good merits to leverage funding from corporate bodies to actually partner in building those websites, sponsorships. We have a 30-year partnership with Alcoa of Australia, and they have supported a lot of these web-based tools, and I think a lot of organisations are actually moving towards that, either that or social media networking devices and tools. I think social media networking is going to be such a powerful tool, and it is a powerful tool to get our message, all our messages, across to the communities and groups that we work with.
There are two real problems, as I see it. It's fine you get kids involved in school doing these projects. Will they ever get to go out there and experience it, because they'll need their parents to drive them out there? That's the first thing. The second thing is, when those kids grow up and leave school, how do you maintain that connection? How do you maintain their interest in the environment? That's like just for everybody, that question. Hey?
You said the same, Gerry.
It's ingrained. So after they leave, yeah, Ella?
Can I just ask that question? About a year and a half ago when I was in the Australian Landcare Council, I actually prepared a paper on engagement for 20-somethings in landcare and environment.
Yeah.
That paper is available, was published on the National Landcare Facilitator's website. And there's also, I presented on that a couple of times over East, and the YouTube video presentation on engagement. It's about how they maintain.
And is it working? So, no, that's good. So that's available? Yeah. Yeah.
We see a sort of drop out in that 20-somethings and how do you make sure they come back in the 30s and 40s, and that's what...
That's the key, isn't it? Yep. All right, let's have a look at it.
What Francis alluded to is critical. It's about setting that seed and trying to maintain that awareness as they progress through the different age groups.
Because these are going to be the decision makers of tomorrow. These are going to be the people who represent us in Parliament, in government, who set policies that are going to affect the environment. And it's important that they maintain the rage, as it were, and forget about political ideologies.
Hopefully.
Yeah, written, authorised and spoken by. Yeah.
2 years ago, at a particular forum, we discussed the need to resurrect ribbons of blue more actively in our community.
Yeah.
It's not enough to have web-based materials available in schools. We need the physical expertise that goes into the schools and enables those children to go out into the environment.
Yeah.
Because you can't learn conservation in a classroom, you have to experience it. I don't know if there's been any action that's been taken place in the region to resurrect that.
All right. Bernie, sorry.
The 4 unpopular monitoring points that peel-harvey put in around the thrombolytes, where were they and why were they unpopular? Can we ask the...
Peel-harvey? Can you stand up, please? And actually, come up here so we can...
The two that are the most popular.
This one works better. Come on, don't be afraid of me. I won't bite you unless you ask nicely.
The 2 that are the most popular are on the boardwalk. So people come down to the main car park and then they walk through. There's an interpretive shelter and then they walk straight onto the boardwalk. There's one facing north, one facing south.
4 that are unpopular that I mentioned.
They're on the walk trail adjacent to there.
Which goes...
Which does a loop along the edge of the lake.
Why are they unpopular?
People aren't walking down there, I guess. They're just not... The path is not...
I'd like to say I've been there dozens of times and I don't think I've ever stepped foot down the path.
No.
Sorry, is it a 50-kilometre walk? Is it a 500-metre walk?
There's 2 lengths of the walk. Ladies, can you answer that? How long it is? Or Christine? How long are they? They're not long, are they? They're like 20-minute walk you can do, or...
Trails where we set the 4 posts up on that were unsuccessful. We were hoping to monitor our revegetation work that we had done in the buffer zone along the edge of the lake. In chatting with the rangers at the Yalwarop National Park, if you look at the demographics of people who use the park, they're typically there just to in, out, and they're gone in about 10 minutes. So taking the extra time to go down and to walk, it's kind of not in their itinerary. It's not part of what the national park, their visit there is. The main theme of that part of the national park is seeing the thrombolytes. So they park, they go out on the boardwalk, they take a photo, get back in the car and they leave.
Thank you very much. Question here. And then I'll come to you down there.
Question for Caroline, really. I heard you say that one of your priorities is improving the health of the waterways. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you're actually doing in the catchments and landowners on that?
Thanks. Our main focus in that program is river care. So we're continuing to develop river action plans for streams within the region and working with landowners to do on-ground works that has been recommended within those river action plans. We're not doing water quality monitoring as such in the region because we're fortunate that the Margaret River is reasonably healthy. So it's really the river care, river action planning process that and on-ground works, revegetation, fencing and weed control.
question down here. Yes.
I just wanted to ask Lisa, can you speak to the GeoCatch demonstration yard?
Lisa?
No, we haven't. We did notice in the planting that mysteriously some plants walk. We actually had to use much smaller sizes to stock very small pots just because we didn't have enough money to put in larger stuff. And who would steal a tiny little plant like that, in a highly budget spot? So, yeah, I think some plants would walk.
I think you need to put in plants that don't have legs.
Yeah, so honestly, if I get driving past there, late one night and see some of those kill them. But no, the grass trees, and they're very costly plants, but they're fine. I think maybe some kids do walk past and break off a handful on their way to karate or whatever. But no, so far, so good. A few bottles thrown in, but
Yeah.
no, I think it's because it's a very highly visible and public site, and we had a banner there, advertising it was okay, the GCAC initiative, so high in the public eye that people have really cared to. And no, they can't really ride their bike through it.
Bernie?
While you're on your feet, you said it was an expensive project. Where were the major expenses for that?
Not so much the concept, the actual detail design, the construction, but it was the removal of the turf. It was sprayed first, but a lot was removed and replaced with the actual soil and mulch and soil amendments, that sort of thing, and the plants. That's pretty much where, when the Shah said, we've got mulch, don't worry, we'll bring the mulch, we'll put it there. Great. So yes, it was labour and pretty much setting up the site, sort of, the long-term sustainability.
Beautiful. No, that was good. See, when you start talking, it's actually good, isn't it? Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Lisa. And a big round of applause for all the other 11 speakers, ladies and gentlemen. And that takes us to morning tea. If you haven't checked out and handed your key in, you could do so now at morning tea. We're back in 30 minutes at 10 to. Is that right, Wendy? Madam Timekeeper, Madam Lash? 30 minutes, we're back.